All right, good morning, everybody, or good afternoon, whichever the case may be. This is Dr. Milligan. I thought I would make a video for you guys for assignment 8.03. It may give you some trouble. You had to change some formulas around and correct some things and add some things, so I just wanted to go over everything with you to make sure that you understood what's happening and how to get the results that you want. So first of all, I know the instructions tell us we're not going to mess with any of this data here. Just leave it alone, don't touch it. Okay? So I also know that my yellow cells have to be 0. Everything here has to equal 0. And notice that my cell here is not quite wide enough, so I'm going to widen that just a little bit so I can see my numbers. Okay? So the first thing I want to do, according to our instructions, is I want to see the total amount of payout. So I'm going to do a sum function here. I'm going to say equals sum, parentheses. Now, you could highlight your cells all the way like from D165 to D3. I'm not going to do that. To me, that takes too long. I know that the cells I'm referencing are D3 to D165. So I'm going to say D3 to D165. I'm sorry, let me fix that. D3. See, I had a mistake right there. Cancel. To D165. So when I do that, I can see the total payout was this great big number right here. So the next thing we want to figure out is the total number of crimes. So we're going to use the count function. We're going to say equal count, and I know my range is going to be D3 to D165. And it'll highlight it for you. So I can see there were a total of 163 crimes. All right, so we know then that these should equal 0, but they're not. Something weird is happening. I wonder what the problem could be. So let's take a look at some of our formulas. The first thing we want to do is count the number of bootlegging, corruption, counterfeiting, extortion, smuggling. Okay, we want to count the number of times these happened. So I'm looking at K. It says count if C3 to 165 equals J3. It's a count if function. Well, I'm not quite sure about that, so let me look at corruption. Oh, I see the problem. The problem is we need the absolute reference. So what will happen if we don't have an absolute reference? What the formula says is, okay, count everything from C4 to C166. Well, we don't have any data in 166, remember? And if we tell it to count starting at C4, it's going to leave out a line of data. And it's going to happen to all of them. So we need to make what's called absolute references. In other words, these cells absolutely have to refer to C3 to C165. So I'm going to change that to an absolute reference. Now, I don't know exactly how your tutorial showed you how to do this, but in order to make an absolute reference, in other words, so that the formulas don't change, the range doesn't change in each cell, you have to put dollar signs. Okay, so it's telling me that it absolutely has to start counting from C3 and count to 165 if it equals J3. So we're not going to go and retype that formula. We're just going to copy it. So let's see if we get it right. So we're going to put our cursor here, make it a plus sign, and we're going to drag down to the bottom. And look what happened. That equaled 0. But there's something else wrong. This has to equal 0 as well. So let me figure out something is wrong here. Oh, I bet my totals are wrong. So I bet it's the same problem. Look, we need an absolute So we're going to do exactly the same thing. So we're going to say $, I'm sorry, not an ampersand, dollar sign. I might be wrong about this one, you guys. We'll see. And if I am, I'll just fix it. Not a biggie. And we're going to have to put an absolute reference here. And dollar sign. So what it's telling it to do, it's saying, okay, go through and find from C3 to C165, sum everything that says bootlegging. So remember, J3 is bootlegging. So we're going to say this again. We're going to have to say dollar sign and dollar sign. Okay, let's see what that tells us. All right. So I'm not going to just... Do you understand how these formulas are working? So what it's telling me right here, it says add everything from C3 to C165 if it is J3, and then calculate the total number of bootlegging amount that was paid out. So I'm not going to copy this every single time. I'm just going to put my little cursor there and drag it down, and voila, look what happens. This equals 0. I'm not sure if I'm doing a really good job explaining this. It's kind of hard to put into words, but we have another issue here. Look, this is supposed to be 0, but it's not. So I'm thinking we have another problem with our absolute references. So let's do this. So we're going to do this. Count if B3, we're looking at the gangsters now, and remember it has to be an absolute reference. It absolutely has to look at these cells every single time. B3, and put a dollar sign there. Oops, not a percentage. Okay. So what it's telling us, it says count B3 to B165 if it, basically that means if it equals to Anastasia, or Albert Anastasia. So he committed 7 crimes. But the problem is we're going to have to make every one of these an absolute reference so that every one of these will start counting at B3. So again, I'm not going to just copy that thing 1,000 times. Can you imagine how much time that would take? So I'm just going to put my little cursor here, make sure that it equals 0, and I'm going to drag here. Oh, what do you think happened? Look at that. Okay, that is 0. So we're doing really well so far. So let's see what else is wrong. But I have to get a 0 right here. So I'm figuring that there's probably something wrong with the formula. So again, we're going to have to make these absolute references. And that just means putting your dollar signs. I hope you understand kind of what that means. If not, an absolute reference, you need to go back and review that or talk to me and I'll be glad to help you. I'm going to be real happy if this ends up being 0 in that column. Off topic, my little dog is dreaming and she's running in her sleep. Okay, I'm not going to just recopy that 12 times. I'm going to put my cursor here and I'm going to drag it. Oh, those things changed. I hope it equals 0. And it does. Yahoo! So we are in really good shape. So you do have other questions to answer. Which mobster made the most money? I am not going to go through this list and try to find the highest number on my own because it would take forever. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a sort. So I'm going to highlight where it says Anastasia, Albert. I'm not going to highlight these guys right here. I'm not going to highlight row 1 and 2. I'm going to start out with row 3 and highlight all the way down. Now notice that the money, the totals, something is happening. My cursor just went berserk. Oh, Please don't say I messed it up. Okay, so I'm going to highlight all of this again. So I'm going to sort. I'm going to go to Data, and I'm going to sort. It does not have a header row, so make sure that you click on that. And I want to sort by H, and I want to sort from largest to smallest. And when I notice how, even though my things change in order, my totals and differences here do not change. So what gangster made the most money? So it looks like it was Carmine Tramunti, however you say that. I'm going to say Carmine, T-R-A-M-U-N-T-I. Okay, so now it wants to know which crime had the most number of crimes. In other words, which crime was more prevalent. And it's really easy for me to look here and see that it's going to be extortion, but I'm still going to just sort them just to be safe because I don't trust myself. Notice I'm only highlighting from J3 down to J7, so I'm going to do sort again, and we want to sort by L. Column L has no header row. We're going to sort from largest to smallest. And it is in fact extortion. So I'm going to put extortion. So here's what's going to happen, you guys. When you turn this thing in, I'm going to download this into Excel, and I'm going to be checking your formulas. Please do not just type the answers right here, because I can click on those and make sure that you actually have formulas entered. I'm looking to make sure you have actually entered the formulas. And remember, you can just, drag them and paste them into cells. You don't have to do them, 167 times or whatever. So just wanted to give you an example of how things should look. And if you have questions about any of this, please give me a call or come see me at Live Help. Thank you. Bye.